2024, and I shall proceed with the agenda. I'm assuming that everybody can see it. Is that right? Okay. The first item is Chair's opening remarks, and I don't have it, so we can move on immediately to item 2, which is apologies for absence received.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, we have apologies from Councillor N. Gray for a travel commitment.
Thank you. Item 3, declarations of interest. To receive any declarations of disclosable pecuniary interest for members in respect of business transacted on the agenda. Thank you. Item 4, minutes of the Heritage and Townscape Committee, attachments 1A and 1B. And the reason why we have 2 attachments is that we still haven't quite agreed the minutes for the 8th of January, and we need to agree the minutes of the 11th of March. So, Town Clerk, I think we have something to say.
Yes.
The 8th of January.
Yes, so obviously I wasn't here at the last meeting, but I did understand there was concern. So I've added into the minutes, underneath the 3 bullet points, Councillor I. Black raised an objection to the proposal from Councillor C. Anderson. Are you happy with that, Councillor Black?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, is everybody happy with that? Do we have to vote on that?
To receive the minutes, please. Yes.
Yes. Okay. So, do we have a seconder?
For which minutes is this? Sorry.
8th of January.
I need to just make a comment on them as well.
Okay.
So it's mentioned on. Bear with me. It's mentioned on HT01249 regarding future projects. Mr. George raised issues in dangerous cyclists and council we share details of the PSPL committee. Just to make the committee aware that myself and Councillor Friend will be meeting with the head of environmental services at BBC in the near future to discuss them, because there are some in the town, but they just need amendments, so we're going to speak and deal with that accordingly. That's it.
I mean, I think we did accept minutes apart from that additional note about Councillor Black disagreed with me, objecting to something I had suggested. So I'm not sure. Anyway.
If we can receive the minutes now, I've amended them. Thank you.
Yes. So, will somebody second? Okay.
So which minutes are we approving?
January the 8th.
That's fine, I'm not going to argue that.
So all those in favour, please.
Thank you.
And now the minutes of the 11th of March. Councillor Schuker, you've got.
So 03/24/8, there was a conversation regards the doctors only parking days. Councillor Marie wasn't at the meeting, so I'm a little bit confused in terms of what the actual action was that was proposed, and maybe Councillor Marie can clarify if the TRO request for the change is already in train, because the action suggests that we were going to ask for a change in the TRO. Well, I thought it was already well in the process, but if it's not, then the action stands.
So I watched the meeting online because I was in Austria at the time. I watched the meeting online. I spoke to Mr. Aldridge, Park Service Manager, the day after. The outcome, I believe, was for councillors Friend and Morehouse to contact Parking Services to speak to the Town Council regarding it. The TRO is being sorted out of. However, the email that Dean Aldridge sent to the committee, which I forwarded to everybody in this room, was that currently the budget requires £2,000 for the change of the TRO. However, the current TRO, which is Doctors Parking, has been removed, and anybody can park there at the moment.
It still says Doctors Parking.
Yeah, on the ground, the plate's been removed. So if the plate's removed, then the restriction has been removed.
So just to repeat the question, is there a TRO that's been put into the process for a period of time? That's my question.
So currently there is no TRO for that parking space. So that parking space is now classed as a free fall. Anybody can park there for any length of time. because the doctor's TRO has been removed, so there's no it's basically you can park
Open space.
Yes, exactly that. Yeah. So the TRO that they want to put in, which is regarding the other 3 spaces, which is the hour waiting or residence parking permit only paid, is being looked at. But as I said in the email that I sent, it's the funding and the cost investment change.
So it would be good to get the doctor's parking sign removed, because it does mean that visitors who don't know them, they can't park there.
So can I ask a question then? Because I'd like to know, do the traffic wardens actually understand that? And because I'm not sure they do. Because I was challenged for parking for to unload something. But also, how many other residents actually realise that? I mean, if it's free parking, then how is that being communicated?
It's not being communicated.
No, and the traffic orders. So who is dealing with actually putting those orders in, getting them?
It goes, so BBC Parking Services put the amendments to the order that goes to KCC, so they're the overriders.
And they've done that.
No, they haven't done that at the moment, because they're querying the budget, because it's £2,000 to make the amendment, because it's a legal requirement. It's a legal statutory requirement for parking, each parking space regarding its residence permit, a timed bay, WO line, or paying its bay
I'm
parking.
aware of that.
Yeah,
But what I'm saying is, if it needs doing, then what are they just delaying because of the cost then?
I think I saw this email as well from Mr. Aldridge, and what they do is they accumulate a number of alterations to make it cost effective and to make the budget stretch further, basically. I think that's what they're doing at the moment. They're holding back to the payments whilst other things are coming to light, which I do believe he's mentioned 1 or 2 others in that email.
Yes.
I can certainly share that email again with everybody if somebody missed it.
But just to point out to council.
No, I would like to speak, please, Councillor. We're not just talking about a question of TRO, we're also talking about removing the doctor's parking sign, because visitors to the town, and indeed residents in the town, and as Mrs. George has pointed out, it's also possible that traffic wardens who are not familiar with the town, it indicates that actually those spaces are only for doctors, and that reduces the number of parking spaces available to visitors and residents, in effect. So it's a question of when that wording was removed, and given that there is no TRO on those spaces, then that wording should be removed as soon as possible. So I do think that there is an issue and that it needs to be resolved. But I think we've probably spent enough time on this one.
I want to very quickly say something. I think I mentioned at the last one whether there was a possibility of at least one of those spaces being the disabled parking. Because there's still, in terms of the disability strategy and making Sandwich more accessible, if it's still pending, is that something we could consider requesting?
Possibly, yeah. If Town Council can make a
Even if it was just one
suggestion.
of them. Yeah.
They can make a suggestion. However, just to clarify what Carol's just said, the civil enforcement officers have been made aware that that TRO is now removed, so they should not give any parking tickets to anybody there. If they do, then the members of the public have to go through the appeals process.
No, they didn't give me a ticket. I was challenged. I had to point it out. So
But there have been a few people that have got to.
I think I'm going to bring this to an end. But, I think it's possible. It might be possible for the town clerk to write to DBC and ask for that doctors only signage to be removed, because that doesn't seem to involve any change of regulations. Simply, de facto, it's the case that anybody can park there, but they need to remove the words that forbid people from parking. So, have I got a proposal for accepting these minutes?
Well, I've already seconded it.
Okay, so shall we all vote, those in favour of accepting the minutes? Thank you. Right, thank you very much. So item 5, public participation. A 20-minute session is set aside for members of the public to make representations at the meeting in respect of business on the agenda. Individual representations should not exceed 5 minutes. Have we got?
Yes, we have.
Yes. Thank you.
Where would you like it?
Would you stand in that corner?
I'm used to standing in the corner. Yeah. It's a dance.
Where would you like it?
Can I pull this back?
Okay,
Can I pull? What have I done?
You nearly tripped over the gates.
Can I pull this back?
Preferably not.
It's got microphones. No, because I need to.
Oh, okay.
There's a small thing. Okay. First of all, can I say thank you for the time and opportunity to present my proposal this evening. I've got a document pack which I'd like to pass round. I thought there were only 10 of us, and I didn't realise there were a number of other people there. So some people will have to share.
I don't. Oh, I don't want to know.
I also
We've got 5 minutes.
know that my time is limited, so I'm going to race through this. Okay, so my proposal is to seek World Heritage Site accreditation for a combination of medieval town of Sandwich and the Richborough Roman site as a combined venture. Before you fall off your chairs in disbelief or amazement, let me tell you that those two sites combined, in my view, have enough gravitas to meet the criteria that the World Heritage people demand. If you look at the back of the pack that you have, there are two lists. There's a list of the existing UK sites, and there's a list of those which are on the tentative government list to be proposed in the future. And it's my belief that the two local sites to us, Sandwich and Richborough, meets those requirements that are laid down. I'm not going to run through the criteria now because it would take me all of my 5 minutes, but they're listed for you there, the relevant ones that I believe meet our cause. Basically, criteria for World Heritage fall into two camps. One camp is a natural environment, and the other is a cultural environment, which covers history, heritage, architecture, and in some cases, literature. So it's the second of those groups that I believe we hit the criteria for. And I've looked very carefully through the existing approved sites, and I think we match up to some of those. Not all of them. We're not the Tower of London. We're not Westminster Abbey, but some of them we do meet up to. That's my view. So those are the criteria, and I believe that the ones that I've listed there, 2 and 4, are the ones, if you'd like to make a note of that, on the criteria list, which I believe we meet. There's currently only one listed site within Kent. I'm sure you all know that as Canterbury, the cathedral, which embraces St Augustine's and St Martin's Church. So that's the only one which is currently in Kent. There are 2 others that I'm hearing about in the pipeline. One of those is Dover Castle and the White Cliffs, which, surprise, surprise, is not even on the list at the moment. Would you believe that? I mean, a site so famous as that. And secondly, I'm hearing one of Kent Downs, the Chalk Downs, linking over to their equivalent on the opposite side of the Channel in France. So both of those are at the formative stage, as I understand it. They're by no means on the tentative list, so they're a long way down the pile. But they are, as I understand it, formulating a plan for both of those. So why should we do it? Why join the 2, first of all? Why join the 2? I think on their own, Sandwich, reluctantly, I don't think would have the gravitas to meet the criteria. Similarly, Richborough maybe not. Put the 2 together, because we're joined at the hip, aren't we? joined at the hip. And I think the two combined could actually present a good case. Okay. So what are the benefits? Why do it? Why do it in the first place? And if you look to the bottom of the first page on my documents, the proposal, I think, gives a very substantial opportunity to impact positively across a range of aspects of the town and the local area, particularly economics, tourism income, business venture, inward investment, and also, not least, the town status. And I believe there's a lot of untapped potential which could be brought into Sandwich through such a route. Okay, so how would we go about it? What might we do? So to achieve it, we would need, it's a long-term plan. It would take 5 or 10 years to get there, I think. But if we don't start, we'll never get there. So that's my suggestion, that we make a start. I think the first steps will be to research and evaluate and develop a plan, putting our case forward and involving all the relevant stakeholders, such as English Heritage and the people around this room. Maybe talk to other World Heritage sites in the UK and find out how they process their claim. But I've also spoken to a guy called Alex Lukorski, who is the General Manager of World Heritage UK. He applauds the initiative. He thinks it's got good potential and that the UK is underselling itself in terms of heritage at the moment. So in a way, the more the merrier, if you see what I mean. He also gave me some advice, which I've listed there under the bullet points. First of all, to organise and get a committed team of people together who could actually develop a plan. Secondly, to become familiar with UNESCO's guidelines and proposals. And thirdly, to lobby DCMS, that's the Department, Culture, Media and Sport, about the proposal so they're aware of the proposal. Fourthly, to identify our outstanding universal value. So what's our selling point to actually get it across? So what's the uniqueness, if you like, of the proposal? And then finally, to build some local support and get involvement from the relevant parties. So that's the kind of advice that the guy from the General Manager of World Heritage UK was giving me. So who would do it? Well, I'd be happy to be involved, obviously, but I'm no youngster and I think it would need a fit team who are there for the long run, the long haul. And so it would need that team sort of built around us, I think. I also have a suggestion that maybe we could contact the University of Kent and say anybody with a master's degree in history or something who could actually help us to put a case together, you know, be useful on an educational front as well. But I'm open to ideas. I think we should need to explore the ideas that there may be many other ways of doing it. So that's the proposal. Needs your approval, needs your confirmation that it's worth doing, that it's something that the town would want to do. And I'll leave that thought with you. That's my 5 minutes.
Thank you. Yes, of course, yeah.
Also, of course, the one that I'm interested in is being leader of the council's cost.
Yeah.
So how much does it cost?
Yeah.
And where would the funding come to do this?
Yeah, it's an unknown, to be honest, Paul. And I've looked through various other proposals that have gone through, like Saltaire in Bradford. And they say they really didn't know the cost, except that World Heritage will help the funding. Now, to what extent, I have absolutely no idea. It's too early to say that, but there would be a cost. But, you know, long term, there would also be a significant benefit, I think, to the town. Yeah. So, sorry, it's not a clear answer, but, you know, it needs exploring.
Indeed.
Yes.
Have you made any approaches to Sandwich Historical Society to see their interest in this?
I haven't, but they would be an obvious candidate, as would English Heritage, archaeological societies.
Exactly.
So, I mean, before I approached anybody, I had a conversation with World Heritage UK, but I didn't want to approach anybody else until I talked to this group, really. But yeah, you're right, they would need to be involved as well.
Yeah, I love this idea. I don't know whether I'll get involved too much though because of the age, but
Likewise.
I might go a bit doddery.
Likewise.
Are you going to do the same presentation to Ash Parish Council because Richmond does come under them?
Yeah, yeah.
So it might be important because there might be things about, I know some of these village people, they do get worried about increase of traffic.
That's a good idea. Yeah, good idea. Yeah. I mean, one of the worries of these things is you can get over tourism. I mean, apparently the Colosseum in Rome was absolutely swamped, and they've had to put very stringent controls in to actually make sure they're not over touristed. But yeah, I take that point, Jeff. Yeah. I'm not sure we would be over touristed. It would be nice to think we would.
Yeah, just a point. I think it's genius to think Sandwich and Richford together. I'm amazed. I don't originate from Sandwich, but it took me 9 years to finally go to the fort, and I was blown away. And I think it's so not on people's radar. It shocks me that people. I'm telling people about it now. The local to family, they don't know about it. It's really undersold.
Yeah, the guy I've been speaking to, Alex, was saying the same thing to me. He said, "How many people actually know where Richborough is?" Probably 90% of the population haven't got a clue where Richborough is, and the rest, yeah. So yeah.
For information though, I've got 2 children, GCSEs. The schools suggest it as a visit for part of the GCSE studies. So every parent gets that notch towards it. So.
But I was thinking that UK-wide, you know, if you said to somebody in Glasgow, where's Richborough? You know.
I think
Sorry.
We need to indicate as a committee to this member of the public as to how we are going to proceed. And I pick up from you that there is a level of enthusiasm about this. So I think if there's somebody, a councillor here now who would like to work with Mr. Ripley and see what can be developed in terms of getting a group together to push these.
I'm only putting myself forward because I'm deputy chair of the History Society.
Yeah, that's
so
a useful.
We've actually got a committee meeting next week.
That's a useful link.
So I might be able to get you in.
Yeah, I'd be happy to, or even present to the main Sandwich Town Council. I don't know, whatever you feel is useful to move it forward. I'd be happy to join.
I just feel that it should be across the board. So it's the town team getting involved, the History Society, Tourism Forum as well. That'd be a good.
Exactly.
And also councillors and some even it'd be a good idea. I'm more than happy to put mine forward to help as well.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of stakeholders need to be brought into that, so it's a big subject.
I have to say, I have heard somebody else talk about developing a World Heritage Site, which would include Sandwich and Richborough, but it also included Dover Castle and the White Cliffs. So I don't know quite what's happened there. And I can't remember that person's name to a meeting.
Yeah.
I may have his card somewhere.
Well, I pondered that when I heard that the Dover and White Cliffs was actually going forward. I thought, is there a chance for a mutual approach? And I thought, well, we're actually 15 miles away.
And his idea actually presented at the Kent Mining Museum, and of course the museum here and the museum there would be an important element. But I think we should thank you very much for that.
Just one thing with English Heritage. Have you approached English Heritage?
I haven't approached anybody apart from this group because I didn't feel it was right until I bounced it off of the Heritage group here first. You know. Okay, thank you for your time. Thanks for listening. Thank you.
Don't worry, to say then don't worry, we'll be sure.
You got life insurance.
Okay, so we turn to item 6, which is a review of the action, which you voted to have an action of that we would review at this meeting. You voted at the last meeting to do that. But the agenda actually says to review the actions set for level crossings, Ainsley Court, the doctor's parking spaces, and the Guildhall forecourt, additional street furniture, and any others. And I did wonder whether we needed to look at some of the older ones and do something about them. So I think we do have to go quickly through all of these, if that's acceptable. So if you have them in front of you, in June 2023, Bowling Street lights, town clerk to contact KCC and DDC to investigate the situation regarding the cost and opportunity to replace 2 modern lights on the street. Has anything happened?
In that, I did hear back from Kent County Council to confirm that I think it was a resident wanted to purchase something that looks like.
That's right.
That's not possible because they have certain stipulations about the quality and they have to do the on costs for any lighting installed. So I can't quite remember, but I think Council Secret's been in contact with us as well.
Yes, so as you mentioned, it goes back to June. The resident came to me at the end of December because he felt that the town council had stopped communicating with him. So I said I was happy to engage, but had to look back at the history. The town clerk helpfully did contact KCC. Interestingly, in the last couple of weeks, I've been contacted by another resident on another street with exactly the same issue. So there is an issue there, and this is about modern lighting replacing the heritage lighting, the impact of the lights themselves in terms of their design and look, but also more widely the fact that as a heritage location, conservation area, what does the town council want to do as its position on this? So I was going to ask in any case, Claire, about what do we want to do, because this gentleman and I will be meeting with him in a couple of weeks' time to just have a chat with him, but it's fairly clear to me that we wouldn't be able to fund it. KCC are not willing to fund it. It's conservation, not preservation, so if a light doesn't work, their responsibility is to make a light work, and it doesn't necessarily need to be like for like. There's obviously external funding routes that could be looked at, like the lottery fund, etc. But that would be down to the individual to do that, possibly with support from ourselves. But I just wanted to know what our general view was, because this has been around now for 9 months as an action, so it isn't an action. And the question is, we either say from the town council perspective we need to close it, or we actually think of something that we haven't done so far that could help this individual. But as I say, I've already been approached by another individual from another street with exactly the same issue.
Can I just ask a question? The second individual, I know about the first individual, the second individual, are these lights that have heritage style lights that have recently been replaced by modern lights?
No,
because they were failing or something.
I suppose the fact is why we end up with a modern light versus a heritage isn't necessarily the issue. The reality is that it's happening. So, for example, on Strand Street, I was approached in January by a resident there because a light had been hit by a vehicle. I got an emergency call out. It was taken away. It was a heritage lamp on a wall. I was contacted by the resident only last week, and I thought I'll give KCC a call, which I did. And I thought I'd get the answer, we're going to replace it, but it's going to be a modern light. And they said, we're doing like for like. So in some circumstances, they will apply replacing it with as was. But these particular ones there are some on Potter Street, and also this one on 2 on Bowling Street that are modern lights that people are not very content with.
Yes.
Yeah, probably, I don't know, 6 years ago, I got involved with this. So, and the gentleman in Bowling Street, who's to do with the History Society, and he mentioned about it, and I followed up with this, and I got as far as speaking with the senior lighting engineer for Kent Highways, and he said the same. He said, oh, you have to go via your member for KCC, so I did. And it seems if you apply to have the lighting changed, then they actually say, okay, we can change it for you, but there's going to be a cost to that. And as you quite rightly said, people can't go around putting their own lighting up because there's BS specifications for lighting and there's also the issue of ongoing costs for the maintenance of it. But what the problem is it's the ambiguity, because say for instance, I live in a very twee little cul-de-sac on the outskirts of the town, and our properties were built in the 1960s, so there's no heritage there at all, and our lighting was replaced for heritage lighting by KCC. So if you come up and see where I live, I can show you the lights are all changed to heritage lights. Now, because requests were made to change those lights, for some reason they're saying, oh, you're requesting to have it changed, so we'll charge you. And I can give you other examples, because anybody that was on the Dover Transport Forum, which myself was, and I don't know if anybody else in the room was, they used to say about having a scheme or regime for changing lighting, and they were changing the lighting in conservation areas for heritage lighting, and that's what was agreed. So, but what you've got up there now, I think, is a 1960s style. Has it still got the sodium bulb in it?
These are
long thin flat ones are there, sodium. Yeah, sort of similar to motorway lighting. So, but basically, we're at stalemate. And I started this 6 years ago, and haven't got any.
I think it's admirable of Councillor Schuker to be meeting with this gentleman. I think there's probably very little that can be done. And I think to be frank, I think if there's nothing to be done, then I think it's complete. It really does. I was involved at the beginning, and I looked at the correspondence that had already taken place with Councillor Chandler, and it was pretty clear that nothing is going to be done. And
so I
think that's how we should.
I propose we close it there.
Yeah.
If there's anything new that comes out of the conversation we have, I can bring it back here.
Yes. Okay. Does everybody accept that we
I'll
close
second that.
Okay. Vote. Close. I don't want to spend a lot of time on these, so we need to go through them quite quickly. June 23, the Climate Emergency Report. Councillor Mallet to look at practical actions that STC can take forward. As I remember it, Councillor Mallet, you were going to inquire of Walmer Town Council about
yes, we
an incident. But if you could just very quickly...
very briefly, putting the thermal cameras to one side, Councillor Schuker, sorry, Emmett and I off to a resilience meeting on the 21st of May. But what I want to get out of that is the boundaries between what the Environment Agency, police, fire brigade, and the like what their responsibilities are, and what the gaps are. Because the gaps, if other people are doing it, if we get involved, we get in the way. And so far, my understanding is the gaps are preparing, so people will understand their own personal risk. And we're dealing with flooding here, because beyond that, the risks are too big. The risks are less, the impact is too big for us to consider. So far, what I've got to, which I just shared briefly with Councillor Schuker, is that where do people put their cars in the event that there is a serious risk of Sandwich being flooded or areas being flooded, that they can actually move their cars and know they can park safely. That is one area. And also how we can help people save their valuables. Essentially, the areas in Sandwich are all double story, which is fortunate. But that is an ongoing thing once we understand a little bit more about ours.
So if we note that this is ongoing,
Yes.
and that you and Councillor Schuker are looking at particularly at the question of flood,
Yes.
and the risks involved to householders
And
in Sandwich,
yes.
Householders' property.
Households' property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And would that be satisfactory?
I think so.
It's got that way.
Yeah.
Fine. Thank you. So we'll move on. So July 2023, the Sandwich War Memorial. It was agreed that the town clerk would contact the contractor around concerns that the text is not clear on the bottom plan. This is something that I'm concerned about. I raised it because the War Memorial was refurbished, and what happened as a consequence of refurbishment is that you can no longer read the names of the men and women who fell in the Second World War. And I thought there should be something that can be done about that. And we did talk about trying to get some quotes. So, Town Clerk, if you could say something about.
Yes, so the contractor that did the work, they did attempt to do something else with the plaque, but they said because it had been cast differently to the others, you couldn't change it or do it. The only solution was to replace that plaque altogether. So they did provide one quote, but I haven't had any capacity to get another 2 quotes.
Okay.
That's the situation.
So we need another 2 quotes.
We did another 2 quotes, and then really members need to decide if they want to do the work, if they want to replace it. I think from memory it was about £1,000 we were quoted from Cleverly Spencer.
Okay.
Just very quickly, can I check, did we not take that to the town council? I'm just a bit confused. It doesn't feel like it happened in this meeting, that could be wrong.
Yes, it happened in this meeting. No, it's not been to STC. So I've only ever got 1 quote.
So, well, if and when you have the capacity, or somebody in amongst the staff has the capacity, I think we should continue. I mean, personally, I feel quite strongly about that. I don't know whether the rest of the committee does. That we should try and make those names legible, because they currently are not.
Oh yeah, sorry, I was just going to say, could we also add alongside this, town clerk looking to funding from the War Graves Commission, because they do help with grants towards anything that's to do with like war memorials and graves and things like that. So perhaps they might do matched funding. So if we put, say, 1,000, they might put 1,000.
I think we used them for the clean-up in the first place, didn't we?
I think it was a grasp one.
Worth trying to
Yeah,
get.
we did, yes.
I might have forgotten.
Can I just suggest that what we don't end up leaving at the end of the actions is a whole load of extra actions on the town clerk without any sense of importance. What I would suggest is this is an important issue. Actually, I would suggest we agree that it gets looked at in the second quarter of the year, for example. So it's spread out. I don't want
I wouldn't put
8
it as
new
top priority.
actions.
No, but it would be good if we could get it done by November the 11th. I mean, that is clearly, and I mean, I've been to Remembrance Day services where the names of the fallen have actually been read out, and I find that actually very moving. And we couldn't do it in Sandwich at the moment. You can't read them. You can't read the Second World War.
I was just going to say that's the way it was designed, and no one's ever said anything about it before. You know, all the old veterans are coming in, you know, Battle of Britain Day, but Remembrance Sunday, it's always assumed that is what it was. People, I think, it's so much hardship in the early 1950s. They were just happy to get their names on the war memorial. But a lot of that items around there was done with gold leaf, and I just wonder if it is possible just to have gold leaf over that, rather than put a new plaque up. Just get a costume for gold leaf. That would then bring the names out, wouldn't it?
Actually, I do remember them being legible, and then after refurbishment, they were no longer. But anyway, let's leave that. So let's say this is not top priority, but it is ongoing, and it would be good if we could get some quotes in timely enough for something to be done by the next Remembrance Day, which is November the 11th, 2024.
Can I just ask, sorry, one comment, if the names are at all legible, at least if someone could take down the names of the people there, then they could be read out in November while this was going through.
Yes, yeah. Absolutely, that's a very sensible suggestion. Okay, the next action is town clerk to contact BBC in relation to the payment of mooring fees, how much they receive, and access to toilet shower facilities. I'm not quite sure what that's about, but
Yeah, so this was born out of people saying that the mooring fees were not being collected.
Yes.
I don't think there is any DDC officer currently doing that, and I have approached a DDC officer to ask if there's any possibility that Sandwich could do that. But of course, I don't know, obviously with capacity the way it is at the moment here, I mean, it would be something that somebody visiting the public conveniences, for instance, would need to do. The Port Haven Commissioner fees are a separate situation, and the Port Haven Commissioners collect those fees. This is about visiting vessels. Quite how many vessels do visit Sandwich Quay, I'm not too sure anymore, but and I think there was a conversation, maybe Councillor Gray brought this up,
Yes.
that we pay for the management of the shower facilities, and actually we don't get any of the income from mooring
Yes,
fees.
that was the issue.
Yeah,
Yes.
So I've started a conversation, but I haven't, it's not something that.
Let's call it ongoing.
Chair, there's more on the fees now being collected by the harbour master on behalf of Port Haven Commission.
Yes. But they are separate mooring fees, aren't they?
No, he's doing a lot.
Oh, right.
He's doing a lot. He's doing it on behalf of Dover District Council, so it's now harbour master.
But what I think the issue is that Dover District Council gets all the mooring fees, and we have to pay for the maintenance and supervision of the shower and the toilets.
Well, it's our building, isn't it? It's our building.
It's our building, but nevertheless, the mooring fees presumably reflect to some extent that there are facilities available. So I think the issue is whether those facilities should get some sort of subsidy from the mooring fee. Well, that
They've got
I think
facilities
was
on
the
all
issue.
their boats.
Well, so should we say that that's ongoing and but it's not a high priority? Because it would be helpful to know how much they get
Yes.
in terms of mooring fees.
Yes.
And compare that to what we actually put out as far as maintaining the shower.
Just to be clear as well, regarding the mooring fees that Dover District Council collect, that goes towards the service work on the riverside. So if there's any dredging that needs doing, the last time it was dredged was about 10 years ago, and it cost over £1 million to do it because it's a lot of task. And if STC were to take those mooring fees on and they had to start paying for the dredging, they would give responsibility for the waterways, then it would be
A lot of insurance
a lot of money.
A lot of insurance costs as well.
Okay, well, I think we need to have a further discussion about what the issue is with Councillor Gray.
There's no commissioner.
No, he's a councillor.
And I think it's closed.
It's fair.
You can't keep pushing it. I think you should close it off.
Well, that's a proposal. Does anybody want to?
I'm happy to second that.
Okay. Because people like
Sorry,
to
I
vote.
missed what the proposal is.
That we close this actually.
It's, yeah, the mooring fees, Jeff's a commissioner for the Port Havens, and he's stating that the fees are actually being collected by the harbour master. So that's the end of the inquiry, really. But it's everybody's choice how you want to vote on that.
Would you like to hear about what the
Indeed.
Okay, so those in favour of closing this action, please vote. Okay, so that's fine. October, street furniture for the Guildford forecourt. Now, this is something that is actually on the agenda anyway, so I think we just say that that's ongoing. Again, October, Councillor Marie to prepare a report for the H&T Committee on the impact on next year's budget if allowing free parking one Saturday a month from the STC controlled parking spaces.
Yeah, it's part of my parking. It's part of my project scope for parking. I have been speaking to the financial officer for Town Council. Told this one owned about parking. They would be 22, 23, 69% of the money that DDC paid for the council for it is 7,556. If we'd done that, the Torbis fund would lose that money. If we took, we would lose a lot, well, at least half of that if we'd done one Saturday a week or a month for free parking for that area. So that's a discussion we need, another discussion we need to have regarding the finance officer, because at the moment, obviously, we're trying to save our money in the Torbis fund at the moment, and the only money coming in is a lot good. So we so we've been a bit cash strapped with the Talbot Fund, and we're going through a lot of changes with it, so yeah, there's another, I'll just have to speak to the finance officer a bit more.
Indeed. So we can say that's ongoing,
It's ongoing,
and that
yes.
you'll be talking to the finance officer. Thank you. Again, in October action, Carol George to share with the committee the work undertaken by the time team previously on the HIPs, the Highways Improvement Plans.
Sorry, we can't do any more because the hit was with the previous administration. So unless
The
it's
previous
found,
administration.
well, it was with Amanda Jane.
I see.
So she created it as a
Right.
result of us giving her all the information. But where that hit report is, I no longer know.
Right.
And what we were asked to do, and Richard Ruff was involved, was to look at the priorities within that list, because they will only do one thing on that list per annum. And you still, Sandwich Town Council would still be required, as I understand it, to pay for that anyway. So unless we can find the HIP report, which I think you were trying to find, you found it.
Yes, we have found it, yes, thank you.
So I don't think we necessarily need to talk about this today. We've got a HIP meeting coming up.
Yeah.
Let's just defer it to
Yeah.
that.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
So deferred, it's ongoing, and discussion will take place at a meeting specifically concerned with the HIP. Thank you. Another October action, town clerk to contact DDC to establish whether there is progress on the priorities identified in the two consultancy reports produced, Vision for Sandwich and Heritage Farm and Key Development.
So I've actually got a meeting, not tomorrow, Wednesday, what's tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday, with a DDC officer about the Vision for Sandwich. I haven't pursued anything yet with the Heritage Harbour, but I've started with the Vision for Sandwich. I've got a meeting this week.
Excellent, thank you. And you will be meeting this person on your own?
There's two DDC officers I'm going to meet with them just to ask them about, because I've got no background knowledge at all of this.
Yes.
I've never actually.
Well, the person who has got background knowledge is Mrs. George. So I'm wondering whether she might be involved in some way.
I think I'm not sure I did send it to the town clerk, but I've got the Vision for Sandwich that we wrote, the green paper and the white paper, the original Vision for Sandwich. Then it went to the MP. It went through Laura Sands originally, and then to Paper Keeley, and he created a meeting at which all stakeholders were involved. That was then to be, if people were tasked with going back to him, that didn't happen, because he wasn't there for the second meeting.
I think if the town clerk would like, if Mrs. George is available to brief you.
Yeah, can I have a conversation with the DDC officers? I haven't actually mentioned that anyone else is going to be there. I'm just trying to build relations. Because I went to that forum at DDC and did the tour of the Amazing Jew. So I met the key person at the DDC team, and I hadn't met him before. So this meeting sort of sprung from that face-to-face meeting, and I'm just really keen to try and build those relationships and see if we can progress something before I involve anyone else.
Okay, no, that's fine.
I'm sorry.
Did you get a copy of the green paper and the white paper?
I think I have got an email from you, but I'll check tomorrow if I haven't.
You haven't.
Thank you.
That was where we started.
Thank you very much.
So we can record that as ongoing.
Yeah.
Thank you. November the 13th, councillors I Black, L. Ripley and C. Anderson to meet on site and draft a response in relation to the proposed traffic regulation order amendment 109. We did that.
Yes.
And the latest, I mean, this is a closed action because the latest is that KCC Highways has ignored absolutely everything that we said and has just gone ahead and done what they said they were going to do. And which we told them was not appropriate. So it's closed, and there's a whole question about whether consultation has any meaning at all. But let's leave it. So it's closed. November the 13th, town clerk to share the safety audits with members that relate to existing bus stand layout. I've market that's happened, that's very
Yeah.
November the 13th, town clerk to communicate that STCC meeting with Stagecoach to explore if there's a better layout for the bus stands. I'm not quite sure where we are on that.
So we've got a meeting tomorrow evening, 5:30, just councillors with the project officer,
Yeah.
BZC. So we have a conversation then.
Yeah. So that's on good.
Yeah.
The Stagecoach meeting.
Stagecoach is, because as the operator,
They are the key stakeholder.
they are absolutely.
I think until we have this discussion tomorrow evening, and then we can raise everything there.
Okay, yeah, okay, I'm about to turn that tomorrow.
Next one, town clerk to inform members of any proposed tree planting events that the volunteer tree warden organises and to confirm numbers of councillors as volunteers available to support. That is ongoing and has happened and we have been kept in touch.
Yes, you have been kept informed. I'm not sure where we are with, because I think the hedge planting was the last initiative that was shared. I think that Councillor Mallett's working with the volunteer tree warden, and we are in contact, I am, with the volunteer tree warden. So if there are any opportunities, I'm happy to share those.
So, thank you.
Rain stops playing.
Yes, rains.
Claire, sorry, can I
Yes.
just go back to the previous action? I just wanted a couple of minutes to quickly check. So this is just one example where we can make more efficiencies. We've got action on the STC action log relating to the same issue, so we shouldn't really
Meeting the
have,
Stagecoach.
well, the whole issue around the cattle market and liaising, and it says liaising with the relevant authorities, officers, etc. So we've got an all-encompassing, so we either manage it there or we manage it here. We don't manage it in both places.
No.
With that side of the way, but let's just do it in one place. I think it's an STC issue as opposed to origin Townscape.
Yeah.
I'd agree.
So you know,
Okay.
partners in the wrong
So,
place.
so we can put it somewhere. We can
Close it.
excise it
Close it
here
here, but
Yeah.
not
and
rest.
keep it open on the STC. The next one is about a bus shelter. That it should be partially enclosed, but we're actually, are we talking about that?
We can talk about that tomorrow, can't we?
Yeah.
That's
So that could be classed as
Yeah.
So I think the bus stop's going to be the talking point. However, there is still a lot of actions that need to be taken on that square regarding the bins, etc. The bus stop. So I think we're all in agreement with that. So that could be discussed tomorrow.
Okay, so let's put ongoing discussion with the project manager, David Parish, on tomorrow's day. Airbnb in Sandwich, that is one of the projects that the councillors are leading on. And I mean, Councillor Ripley, you're leading on Airbnb, so I'm not quite sure. I think it should be closed, yes. As because it's part of the scoping that we've all been doing. Town clerk speak update on design of the bus shelter. Well, that's exactly what we've just been talking about, so that should be closed. January the 8th, town clerk follow up with BBC if no update is received in relation to the progress of action and potential enforcement for Friars Meadow and Fellowship Walk. Well, I do feel that that is something that we should be keeping an eye on.
We have had an answer on this one, haven't we? So we were asking them about two issues, one to do with the fencing and one to do with the clearance of the site. And we have now had clear instruction from DBC that they're not prepared to do anything at all about the fencing or the site. So if we do keep this action, we have to actually give it some new direction as to what we're expecting. Because you can't have an action if you haven't got an outcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a detailed discussion last Wednesday at planning, also last Monday at planning, regarding it, and I did make a suggestion for the town clerk to write an objection letter to BBC planning regarding the Harris fencing, because it is unsightly, it's horrible, and so that this is ongoing. However, I think it's moved a step, isn't it? I do just move more to planning now than it has done to Townscape heritage.
Definitely, yeah, it's a planning issue.
Okay, so do you want to close it for this committee?
Yeah, I propose closing.
Yeah,
Thank you.
And I think there may be another set of actions to do with the ownership of that land. But that's
Can I check who is refusing to take action, DDC or the owners of the?
DDC, yeah, so they were gonna issue a 285 section,
Yeah.
requires notice, which requires, and that was what we were waiting for. And then when we followed up on it, they said, no, we're not going to issue a 2 section 285.
So basically, the Harris fencing can remain in place without any problems as to the foreseeable future, which the planning committee agreed last week is unacceptable. And so we've asked the town clerk to write a letter to DDC and planning to see what we can be done about it, because it's horrendous.
Okay, so we are, yes, okay.
Is that fencing safe?
It's
Because it
safe.
has a corresponding life limit, doesn't it?
It is safe. It has to be. It's Harris fencing because it's class based across the building site.
That's a
Fencing,
shame.
So what we're saying is this action is closed for this committee.
Yeah,
that's correct.
That planning committee, SCC planning committee is now writing to planning anyway. And that there may be a further issue about ownership which will be raised, I imagine, at town council.
And both DDC councillors are dealing with this as well.
March the 11th, to create an action log, closed, we've done it. March the 11th, councillor in Black, in conjunction with the town clerk, to write to Network Rail. Well, I know because Councillor Black sent me a draft of this letter, that there is now a letter, and which I sent on to you at the weekend. So that
We know who to send it to now. We know who to send it to, we've got a name.
Yeah. So that will go presumably. So I would say that that's closed as well. Is that right? Yes.
No, well, we need to hear what they're going to do about it, but because I think the request was that they either tell us what they're doing, or that even suggested that they actually should come and talk to us as to what they're doing.
Yes, but the actual action is closed.
Correct, sorry, my apologies.
Yes.
Are we still waiting for the outcome for the investigation for one of the incidents?
Yes, but that's a separate issue. This was about.
I don't know the answer to that, but I asked a series of technical questions on when the power went and the barriers were down.
Yeah. March the 11th. Well, yes, this was related that the town clerk should write to KCC Highways to request better signage for traffic diversions should a failure occur again. But actually, in the letter that is going to Network Rail, we asked them if they actually told KCC Highways, because
yes, we did.
We're not sure they did. And I don't know. I mean,
I haven't seen the letter.
no. I think Councillor Blackcross and I should perhaps draft a letter
To who?
to KCC Highways.
My suggestion might be better to wait and see what the control room tells. If the control room doesn't even bother telling the KCC, they can't beat them over the head.
Okay.
And I don't know if KCC ever control this kind of thing for major traffic incidents. I don't know.
So we'll leave that for the moment, but and a way to reply from Network Rail before we approach KCC. Okay. March the 11th, that the town clerk write to KCC to clarify the legal status of the right of way and to write to Ainsley Court residents company to confirm the permission given to create a ramp, whether that's still valid.
I haven't been
No. I would put that as really quite high priority. But so we leave that open. Okay. March 11th proposed that to write to Councillor Friend and Councillor Moorhouse to request the change in the TRO be considered. Well, that's already happened. And to request this was about the doctor's parking issue. I think we should say that that's ongoing and that we need to write to DDC to ask them to remove that signage. Has everybody agreed?
DDC. Well, I think the
Oh
sign
no, it's KCC.
is KCC, isn't it?
KCC.
They've got a burner, haven't they, to take the white lines off,
Yes,
the propane burner.
yes, yes, so it's a question of writing to KCC, we got that wrong. Yes.
That's all.
Okay, so that's an open, that's still ongoing. The clerk, the final one is the clerk to invite Councillor Beer and Councillor Biggs to the next Heritage and Townscape Committee. And they've been emailed, but I was
Yes.
still awaiting a response.
They have emailed this week to send their apologies, and they suggested you might want to talk to an officer instead. Because
We've
they've
already talked to them, so that's why I thought it could be good to talk to.
I think that the councillor probably suggested you to speak to the officer because they're the people that give them the advice. But they did send their apologies. So
Okay, so I think we close that.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, because we've already had the officer
We
here.
have
Yeah.
second that.
Everybody in favour of closing it? Okay. Right, well, thank you. So that concludes the review of the action log under item 6. Item 7 is the tourism forum update. And the time for that to be called.
So I was the secretary for the first tourism forum. The meeting date was the 21st of February at 6:30 in the hub. It was agreed that Richard Ralph would continue to chair the tourism forum, and a volunteer was sought to undertake the secretary role, and Councillor Ian Black has volunteered for the next meeting. There were quite a lot of conversations, with quite a good turnout, and quite a lot of people attended, including the compass group, so that was really appreciated. I won't do all the information because I think you probably had an opportunity to read it. You've got the scoping document and actions that were born from the result of discussions at that meeting, and also helpfully, or not so helpfully, the Sandwich Town Visitors Survey came out literally the day after the meeting. So, but we have had that shared with everybody that attended on the tourism forum, and I think that will hopefully give foundation for useful conversations going forward.
Okay, I've just lost. Thank you. So, any comments? Yes, Councillor Black and then Councillor.
I think Councillor Toogood.
Okay.
So we have delegated the responsibility down to the forum, so we do need to trust them to do what they need to do. But observations, having attended that meeting and sitting here today 2 months hence from that meeting, I'm personally very disappointed that nothing has happened in the meeting period. Particularly as a report came out the day after, and I asked by email that the meeting was set up quickly to go through the report either as a subgroup of that meeting or as the full meeting, to look at the content and identify probably some short-term wins on it. If I don't want to go on too much because this is really discussion for the forum. If the forum doesn't meet, I can't have a discussion. The reality is, people in this room over the last year have at times been very worked up about the lack of focus on tourism for the town. I'm here today thinking nothing's changing. So if we want it to change, we are instigators ourselves in that process. Something needs to happen to change, because we're now moving towards the end of April. Okay, we're in the first week, but yeah, we will be towards the end of April before we have 3 weeks again. This year will be lost. People last year were saying last year was lost. And if it's an inert activity, can you have an inert activity? You possibly can't. If it's inert, then I will not be involved in this tourism forum, because it's 2 hours of my life that it doesn't. It's got no strategy. It's got no outcomes. It's got no direction. And I hoped, as a group, that's what would come out of the first meeting, at least to start. And we had a golden chalice the next day. We had that report. I'll stop there.
Thank you. That's about.
Well, I was just going to ask me, fair enough, we have this report. Unfortunately, I've got in big red letters, there's no who is going to do anything. And that's a problem. And secondly, if we want to set up a meeting, well, you know, a few things have to get moving. And if you want me to do that, I can certainly try and pick it up. But there's quite a bit of information which I don't have at the moment. So can I ask for this? I appreciate people are very busy. I don't think we're able to even look at this, I suspect, until May, would be my suspicion, because a lot of it is, our own resources are very stretched.
So, can I?
Yeah.
Well, we know that the chair has been away, so he's been on holiday. But he is back. I think he should be contacted, because what can I was a bit I think quite complacent on this, that yes, there weren't any actions, put to any particular people, but also it was open-ended in terms of how often the meeting should take place. And I think right at the beginning, the inference was that they should have them ASAP, so we should at least have had one each month going forward, so that we can monitor the action points. So Richard I know he was back on Sunday. I think we need to find out what he's done about any of that, because he may well have done. But if not, how this is going to be taken forward, and what date we have for the next meeting. Because I do think it's quite important, and it is very urgent. I mean, I was one of those people shouting that this needed to happen. It should have happened last year, and it still hasn't. So that would really be my suggestion. We ask it.
To short circuit things and to try to take pressure off people in the building. Could you get into contact me direct?
Yeah.
I'll see what can happen. Trouble is, I'm also going to be away for a bit, and I'll see what can be set up.
I'll talk to
If you can do it, and
I'll find out.
I think we have to take it outside this meeting, otherwise we're swamped up.
I mean, ideally, it should meet within the next fortnight. And have some, and actually put into place some of these actions. The ones in bold. We don't have any idea as to whether any of them have been done.
I'm afraid that I do not have the bandwidth even to start looking at that in that time scale. Yet another secretary, if that's what you wish to do. I haven't got bandwidth.
Okay.
I'm away.
Yes.
I was going to say, sorry, Chair, because we do say, don't we, with our own town council committees and things like that, that we do have deputies. So if, for instance, the chair is away, that shouldn't particularly if they're away for a long period of time, because it's from now until September, people are going to be alternately away. We've now got Councillor Black's away, so although the chair's back, the secretary's off, and without all due respect, how far do we let this go? Sort of May, June time or something, and then of course that's the summer. So would we be planning tourism in the winter? I don't know. No, so
I think that's key. I think that's where we're missing a trick. That Sandwich should be an all-round destination. But if I know that Dean's got his hand up. I will add on from what Councillor Chuka said, because I completely agree with what he said. So if I speak about compass, I think it will link with what's been suggested.
What has been suggested?
Well, the fact that action needs to happen.
Yes, it does.
Sorry.
Councillor Reid.
Yeah, it's a bitter pill to swallow, but I totally agree with Councillor Chuka. Action is needed. It really is needed. We can't meet quarterly with tours. It has to be more than that. So every other month, for instance, I live and breathe tourism. I do it every year as part of my profession. What I do. In the sidelines, myself and Rick Hugan have been contacting coach companies and coach holiday companies to say, look, we are here, come to us, but you have to work at least 3 months in front of where we are now. So, for instance, we should be thinking about the autumn time and then coming on to the winter time. I do feel that we have lost this summer.
So, what are the actions then? You're going to.
I'm going to contact Richard.
And get into contact.
And then
I will see what can be done.
Yeah,
but
okay.
in the next 2 weeks, you can get somebody else to do it fine. But I can't.
Can I just say in terms of that conversation, sorry Claire, this is not, if you look through all the stuff here, there are umpteen actions.
Yes.
People will drown. That is not the way to do it. You need to chew what you can chew. This needs short-term actions based on that report that White Cliffs Country did, and look through that. That's your data. That's the only data we had available to us. Take out about what are the things we can do in the short term with the expertise from those that are involved in tourism, business activity in the town. Focus. Don't try and deal with 50 actions, which I think there's probably 50 on now.
also, I think, with all due respect, if the secretary is away for a fortnight, could we not set a date for when the secretary returns, and hopefully the.
I think that's a conversation that I will have.
Yeah.
I'm not committing myself, as I say. I'm not going to overcommit, and we will do the very best we can. But until I've spoken to the chair, and we have to also be very clear with the chair that he is going to have to direct this very closely into right. These are the top priorities, and we now get people to sign up to them. It isn't just a matter of meeting; it's a matter of structuring, and that will take time.
Thank you. So we know what is going to happen within the next. Okay. So are people satisfied that we now move on to the next item on the agenda? So item 8 is Sandwich Town Company members to receive work on
Well, my name's Claire. I think I've met a lot of you.
Could we just have a
already.
bit of quiet? Sorry, I don't want to.
And Fran is here as our website manager, developer. The first thing I was going to stress was that we originally got together in 2022, and this, when I say we, it was myself, Yoga Shed owner, Claire Bennett, who owns Pepesh, a vintage shop, and Martina Watson, who owns Miss K, the boutique in town, and Fran is Martina's daughter and works there as well alongside her. And we went to a very similar meeting to this, and there were lots of actions and lots of voting and lots of people saying this should happen, that should happen, and we realised very, very quickly that nothing was going to happen. So the three of us got together and we self-funded to that, because it's very obvious there's no money in the council, there's no money for any of this. It was very interesting at the tourism forum when people were talking about a brand for sandwich and a branding, and you know, no one in the meeting admitted there was no money. We were sitting there like, yeah, how's this going to happen? Anyway, going back to the map, we started 2022, we got together, we self-funded this, we self-funded it. I was just going to quickly explain. This was the initial map, and then it's been updated. We printed it out. I'd been to Plymouth and had been given maps like this for Plymouth. So we put them in shops where people could say, you can go here, you can go there. But the development of it was that it was the 3-kilometre walk, and I'll, you might need to tell me, a 3-kilometre walk around town. I can show you, it's a little bit limited. So that's 3 kilometres all the way around. And we were very keen to have the river at the bottom because most people spend all their time turning around the current maps that were available. We also specifically just put points of interest on there as a guide because we wanted to encourage wandering. So if people got up to, you know, past the allotments, then they could wander around and hit King Street this way. We were encouraging people not to go, I want to go to Miss K Boutique, I'm going to go there and leave the town. And we were trying to encourage a wandering of Sandwich. It's not perfect, it's not accurate, it's artistic license, and it was developed by an artist for us. We won't change this, so if people want to suggest to us that's wrong, and it genuinely is incorrect. So, for instance, in the first iteration, we had a double stream. That's fine, but some names are slightly off just to accommodate some of the artistry. It's worked very well. In particular, Carrie at Cat's Eye Carving has set up almost like a little tourism desk where people seem to wander up from the quay, hit her shop at the top of Potter Street, and they pop in there, and she has a lot of leaflets, and also Anne-Marie and St Peter's has stopped it, and the taxi office has stopped it. All of the shops have had one, and we have found it to be very successful. The successful point for us was the fact that it was initially just 3 of us, now 4. We don't have meetings. We just put a message in WhatsApp and someone gets on with it. And we self-fund it, and no one has to vote on anything. And that's how we've got this far with it. The other things we've done are 3 so far, late night shopping events. 4th is in the offing. And these were bought into, I found the old Christmas one, which had some of the businesses that bought into it printed on the back. So we then charged each business £20 or £25 for flyers. These are the cards and posters. They all gave us that money, and we then gave them these, and we did it. This was the first one, the Christmas shopping event, so that went very, very well. Did a midsummer last year, and we did another Christmas shopping. We usually tie it in with the lights switch on. It was successful. Not every shop buys into it, but we average about 25 each time we've done it that have been happy to support it and have felt it's good PR. So that's where we are with that. We'll be going ahead with another one of those for this midsummer, won't we? And definitely for Christmas, because it was very, very popular. I think the things that we wanted to say were really, there's potentially 50 connections now in town with traders, and as I said, 25 sometimes get involved. They can change, they can choose if they want to be involved with us or not. We have met on occasion, but we generally just wander and chat, and someone will say, what about this? And we will attempt to action it if we think we can. Our biggest win has been social media. So we set up a Compass account on Instagram and Facebook, And we think that we're probably averaging about 5,000 hits a week on there across the two. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean there's 5,000 people saying, oh, I want to come to Sandwich, but they're seeing us, they know we're there. And it's one of the things that we've had feedback from the shops, particularly in town, that they really appreciate that. So every morning I'll just do a group post and just share it across Instagram and Facebook. And we are encouraging everyone to share everyone, so it's just that community within the town. And that seems to be working very, very well. Then we decided that we would go on and do a website.
Yeah.
And before Brent talks us through it, I will just say that what we have suggested to all of the, so there's no GDPR or whatever it's called these days, there's no issues. People will have a click point or a picture, but we have asked for their approval. And if they would like to give us a 2-sentence description of their business, then that will be on there as well. But everything, it leads to their own social media and their own website. So we're not creating something here that's replicating what they do. We're literally just feeding any visitors from Sandwich to their own business site. So, you know, it's not onerous then. And Fran is currently populating it for us.
Yes, it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of voluntary work.
Yeah, there's a lot of time that I spend just finding the information. I've done it my back, so there's, if you, I don't know if you click on shop at the moment at the top, and when you warm up and scroll down as well, you click on shop, it comes up shop in Sandwich, and there is a vast list of pretty much, I think I've got most of the shops here in Sandwich down now. It includes their, so if you click on a picture, on their picture it will take you to their social media or to their website. And it's pretty much the same all across the whole board for all of the listings. If they've got social media, so just open another, yeah, so they've got social media as well. You can click on the little F for Facebook or the little thing for Instagram, and it will take you there too. Just keeping it really simple. I think that's what what I, you know, just that's the best way to go about it. We think anyway, because there's only so much information you want to take in when you're streaming your phone anyway. You're not going to read through loads and loads of text. But yeah, so the shop at the moment, the shop is pretty much done. I've still yet to do, there's like a what's on, so like getting information about events would be really beneficial. Like, because I don't actually live in Sandwich, but I can put on whatever's on there. So at the moment we've just got the one event at Miss K at the moment, but I know you've got like the festivals and stuff like that. I don't know who it would be.
I'm more than happy to give you access to the SEO website and stuff and link it on there and put all the event dates and the events and some photos I've got. Just give me an email and I'll give you everything you want.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. Again, so with the stay, this is like this is not finished. So that's, no, you're fine. If you press on more, there'll be a little explore one as well. So this is a little bit different. So if you click on the pictures, it will take you to their website. It doesn't seem to be a bit up there at the moment, but the pictures are different and everything. But you can easily access. So yeah, and there's so much more information that I want to put on there. So again, it is, I need the information, and then I can do it. You know.
And again, it comes back to us just wandering, asking, inquiring. Yeah. Do you want to be involved? What would you like to say? So definitely the connection would be good. Oh, that's what I was going to say. No, what was that?
Shall I go?
Yeah, you go first.
I'll leave it okay. If you click on the map that you've got, there's a little QR code, and you can scan that with your phone on the camera, and it will bring up the website. So that just makes it so much easier.
The other thing that
to go back home, you just click on the Sandwich Town Compass and just go there.
And then the other thing that we encouraged all of our colleagues to do was to put their opening times, be really strict with that, because we are very open and encouraging that they don't have, I know it's an age-old thing that comes up time and time again in different meetings, they should be open this time, they should be open that time, no they shouldn't, they know their business, they want to be open Thursday, Friday, Saturday, they're open Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but their opening times are clear, and most people these days will have a look to find out when a shop is open. If it's not open, that's up to the owner. If they've lost business, but we don't dictate in any way. They're all free running, and we are literally just bringing them together and sharing them.
Have you thought about that?
I know there are people
Not yet.
wanting, I know Councillor Black would like to ask a question, Councillor Marie and I'd like to make a comment. So Councillor Black.
I've actually got 3 questions. Do you want people to join your Facebook page? It's a private page at the moment, and I looked at it and I'm like, do you want to join or not? If I'm doing some of this tourism stuff. Second question, is there any plan, and you've got all these businesses listed, but is there any plan to even just have a numbering or a key system so that people see where they're located? That is a complicated issue, I do understand, and it's too complex. I understand why you'd say no.
So at the moment,
Sorry, I thought it turned it off. I apologise.
I am trying to add a search function to the website,
Right.
and it is very complicated.
Okay.
So it's one of those things. I've done stuff on my back. I know a little bit about websites and building all the things. It's one thing I'm trying to work out at the moment.
I just wondered about sort of something like a red circle with a number in it or anything like that.
So what, putting onto the map
Onto the
actually?
map, that may make it too complicated.
I think it would overcome. But I understand what you mean. I am going to be adding a little, whenever the listing comes up for the business, literally a link that will take you to their Google Maps, where they are on Google Maps, so you can get directions.
That would be very helpful. Third thing is, do you want any help? I'm a town guide, and a couple of things that might actually help to make this more interesting from pure knowledge. But I would do it through your Facebook page or some other thing, because there's a couple of things that might actually be of additional interest, not greater interest, but additional.
Perfect. I think the Sandwich Town Business Compass on Facebook is just an open page. It's just a so you can just no, it's not private. So Sandwich Town Business Compass, you just follow it, and so for instance, if a business follows us, I follow them back.
Right.
And then literally every day someone gets a share, someone gets, we're just attempting to share everybody. But yes, certainly anyone can follow it.
Thank you.
You
You
do, and you share us as well.
Councillor Marie and then Councillor
No,
Thomas.
I've answered my question, it's just about an app, but I do share, whenever I do my posts and online and stuff, I do put that everything to comments every time, hashtag.
Councillor Thomas.
Do you have a way of evaluating the impact of it? Have you thought about how is it footfall or income with businesses or?
I mean, certainly with the late night shopping, we did a little bit of, it's just chat, how do you think it's gone? And I would say, as I said, there are probably about 50 connections, and you have 20 to 25 get involved, particularly in the late night shopping, and 20 to 25 repeat to involve themselves in that again. So to me, that does show that they are believing there's some gain from it. But I think it goes back to the fact that this has got to be about self-management. All we're doing is putting them all together and saying to them, if I share your business, if you want to get involved and I want to share your business, then you could potentially have a bite of the pie of all the shares across social media. So I don't think we really need to get up on doing that.
There's a feeling, like, I think maybe other people don't agree, but there are new businesses in Sandwich, but I know we lose businesses, but there don't seem recently, we have a
There has been, I went to a meeting last year, we did collaborate with Sandwich is Open, and we held a joint meeting at the Bell Hotel. 31 businesses attended, 28 were female-led, and at least half of those were female entrepreneurs in their 30s. So we are in contact with all of the new businesses, and as soon as we get a link to anyone, I message them and say, hi, this is what we do you want to be involved?
And it must be really appreciated, because it's a lonely thing being there.
It is. So we've got, for instance, we've got a young lady who set herself up as an independent mortgage advisor. So we share her regularly. I've got another lady who's joined us that she does all t-shirt and mug printing. There's another hypnotherapist that's opposite the quayside in the old 1960s building. She's using that. So it's a lot of the time it's businesses that might not be necessarily visible to everybody, but
Not necessarily premises, like shopping.
people are using them. Yes, it was very, but particularly the female-led side of it was very, very interesting. And I think you would probably agree, a lot of the newer businesses seem to be quite successful. They're independent, they've watched the market, they've seen it, what's happening.
Bridal shop.
Exactly that.
That brings people in, because people travel to the bridal shops, don't they? Yeah.
Well, you know that in your shop.
Yeah,
You've got
We used to do bridal alterations, so it's like people would come far and wide. We have people who come from like Wales to come and see us. If it's the right shop, people will come. They will do that.
Okay, I think.
Was it? Sorry, I just
Just
asked one question.
one question.
Is it right as well that by appointing or getting the shops involved to set up their own online application, they are also increasing their business, because if someone can't get there but you've got something in the shop, they can actually agree to post it. So it's actually helping to keep the businesses going, even if someone isn't necessarily in the town. And I think that's a really important factor to make sure that our businesses stay to
it doesn't have to be footfall.
No, correct.
It's just visibility. Yeah, it's definitely working.
Okay, well, I have to say, personally, I think this is a really terrific initiative, and you're to be congratulated and thanked, because you've put all this time, energy, money into doing the town a tremendous service, and I think we all feel that. The one thing I was going to ask the town clerk was whether we have a link on the website to this website. And your website is up and running.
Yep, it's up
So,
now.
I mean, I think it's very important that we do get all these links on our website.
Yeah.
Also, there are other sandwich websites which do stuff about events very well. I can't remember the name of the one that's run by the Fielders, which is really amazing.
Open sandwich.
Open sandwich, yes. You know, all these websites should be linking up with each other, because you're all trying to do the same thing, and we are, as a town council, obviously committed to expanding and retaining the great businesses that we have here.
And I agree, and I think that the difference is there. You know, that there's, I guess, legalities that you have to follow that slow down the process, whereas we can be maverick.
Yes.
You know, and that's where we could work together, you know.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Sorry, very briefly, very quickly. I just wanted to ask: do you have Sandwich Town Market as
I don't think
it's featured in the picture?
But we've got a lovely page now, haven't we, that's maintained on Facebook that we share regularly.
So, so for the Thursday market, there is a separate Facebook page, but you do advertise Thursday market. So,
So that might be actually.
Thank you, and it's much appreciated. So we'll turn to item. When I count you bell goes, I tend to guess that's when we should finish. So the count of bells is wrong. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
He's later, but he didn't.
Okay, they are. Okay, item 9 is formation of a youth forum. This is something that Mrs. George put forward. If you'd like to speak to it, but as I say, I'd like to finish roundabout.
I don't want to. I don't want to elaborate. It's just that the youth forum came up as one of the items on our county wish list, and it is something that we lack in the town. We lack anything that's going to, if you like, support, or at least I believe we lack anything that is going to support the teenagers that we have in the town. And when I look around at all the meetings and so on, we are all getting older. And I am concerned, and I am concerned that we have no way of attracting, at the moment, any of our teenagers to come in to join lots and lots of the activities that we do. There will be odd ones, but we don't do anything for them. And we don't know what it is they'd like us to do. We do have quite a lot of facilities in the town. I know from my own grandchildren, the younger ones, that they would like just somewhere that they could meet, sit down, have a cup of coffee that isn't going to charge them a fortune. But where do they do that? The Jubilee Centre is somewhere that they did used to go to before. That isn't operational.
Yes, it is.
What, as a youth club?
Not at the moment.
No. And I'm not saying it should be a youth club. I'm just saying that there should be somewhere for them to go to. I mean, the cinema has got a lovely big room at the bottom, but it's right in the middle of the town. Is there a way of utilising that area? I don't know the answer. I only think that we should be looking at a way of bringing youth, going to the schools, seeing whether they have children in their schools who might be interested in coming to meet together, to actually, first of all, say what it is they would like to see in the town for that age group. Now, I'm not saying that this has to happen immediately, but I would like to think it was going to get put onto the system and looked at some point, because we've just seen the vandalism that's gone on, and I'm not saying that we know it was children, we don't, because it might not have been, but we don't give them anything to do. We have a skate park, is that all we really got for that age group? I don't know.
There's the boxing club, which is
The boxing club, yeah.
That's the ladies.
Yes, I do know that. And there are some younger ones there. But two of my grandchildren go to the one in Deal for some reason.
Councillor Shuker, then Councillor Franklin, Councillor.
So I think the youth forum is a very good idea in terms of engaging part of our community that probably aren't represented in terms of their voice being heard. So the time probably is rising. I think you recognise that, Carol, in terms of it. But in terms of setting up a forum, it's not too difficult. It should be really led by the students themselves. Yeah. But I think the town council probably should look at later in the year to facilitate that, to approach the organisations that exist within town schools where you might get one or two representatives who are really keen to be involved, maybe the Scouts Association, the guides, etc., and then you just have that group. It could be facilitated by the town council, but allow them generating their ideas, and that we can listen to that, but others can listen as well. But as a idea, I fully support it. We just would need some effort to get it up and running.
I think the person who really speak to is Phil Scott. I believe he did do this at the youth club, and he had their own committee because they actually did their own fundraising and applied for grant, and they put a load of new equipment in the skate park. So I think, and I think it should be based for youth. It should be based at the Jubilee Centre. I'm sure they've got an evening or a room they could spare, and it's centre of the town, and weekends they could be there. You know, Saturday mornings, Saturday afternoons, have a cup of coffee and a chat. So I think, we should support it, but I think we can chat to Phil, see what he had before, because I said he didn't want their own fundraising and grant application, which I think is really good for them to learn about as well.
Thank you.
It's a good idea. However, I think it would be too big for Town Council. We've got enough on our plate at the moment. We've got a lot of stuff to deal with. I do feel it might be a good idea for the town team to take it over. However, with the collaboration with Town Council to give them support and advice if they need it as well. It should be. I think if there a youth club is set up with Bill again in the Jubilee Centre, then it should go through them. Or even the Scouts and the Guides as well. They'd be a good idea to speak to because they're annual cadets in St Helens.
Yes.
Oh yeah. So I've been there, seen it, got the T-shirt, and got baseball cap for this. So Phil Scott and I and Danielle Castle set up the Phoenix Youth Club many years ago when we went to a meeting and Sandwich Town Council wanted to close down the youth club. I wasn't a councillor then, and when my children were sort of very, very young, I was dead against them closing the youth club down. So myself and Danielle Castle worked with Phil and his wife to set the thing up. And when it was set up, he carried on running it. But one, it's a lot of hard work, and you won't get volunteers to do it. You'd have to get paid, like team members, youth workers, and they are very, very difficult to get. I know Phil quite often was let down, so the youth worker hadn't come for that evening, and so they just had to put on whatever activities they could. It's the funding is very difficult to get as well. Phil Scott is an excellent fundraiser, that's what he's good at. But to tell the truth, I don't think he would come out of retirement to run a youth club again. He's been there, he's got the gold awards for doing that, and I think even if you gave him £1 million, I don't think he would do it again because it is a lot of hard work. But what I was going to say was, I think a lot of you must be sort of have your eyes shut. There's a lot of youth organisations, groups, clubs going on in the town. I mean, when I walk through the Sandwich Technology site, from when I go for an evening walk, there's people doing judo in there. There's one of the biggest things is the 5-side AstroTurf that is like 24/7, 7 days a week out there with one's this tall and one's that tall. There's all sorts of clubs like that. There's the Scouts and the Guides. Recently I went to the district scouting event in St Mary's Church, had to present some awards, and that was very popular. So that's running very well. I think if you do something like this, I won't sort of be negative or something, but you've got to have funding, you've got to have people that are committed to it, and I wouldn't suggest the town council taking it on myself. I think the town council does what the town council does, and in order to do it, let me just say this, that Kent County Council, who used to run youth clubs in every town across the whole of Kent, have now reduced them down to a small handful, and even Kent County Council can't afford to do it. So let's not set ourselves up to fail.
So my only point is just to clarify, because I thought we were conversation about a youth forum.
Yes, that
which is
wasn't,
very
wasn't
different. We seem to have gone down to youth clubs. What I understood as a forum was where you get a small number of representatives from students that gather on a quarterly basis, a monthly, whatever timescales, and they talk themselves about what are their issues, and that we as a council would listen to that. So it isn't you class at all. This is about, it's a well-established model throughout the country where schools might nominate a couple of students, they come together, there's 10, 12 representatives across, including the scouts and the guides, etc., and they just themselves generate ideas, and there are things that maybe the council will be interested in hearing. So that's why I thought Carol was suggesting that rather than what you've suggested, which is something far beyond our.
That's good.
Yeah, far beyond our.
I'd just like to hasten to add that during my year in office, I have actually been liaising with the schools, particularly the secondary schools, and I have asked them, I've actually invited the town clerk to back this up, we have actually asked them to come along, say 4 pupils from each school to come to the full town council meetings, but unfortunately we've not had any takers at all for that.
Maybe we should be looking at it ready for the school term that is coming in September.
I mean, I'd just like to bring this to an action. What I'm hearing is that it's possible that this should not be led by the town council. There's a sort of dead hand of the town council, I think, that might discourage people from coming to it. I should say that as a trustee of the Jubilee Centre, and we are now applying for outside funding, putting together, a little bit of money to fund something pleasant, a meeting once every couple of months. That would be fine, or we could just provide it. So that is something that I think the town council should liaise with the Jubilee Centre about, and see where we go.
I think offering the facility is a really good starting point.
Yes.
Because that's something that would cost, that we could offer without cost and use the venue, and that's a good, because then they don't have to think about it.
And we've got a very nice meeting place. Yes, okay, well, no, I just want to finish this to bring this to an end. So I think, formally, I think somebody, I, as chair of the Heritage and Townscape, could write to the Jubilee Centre trustees and say, how about us thinking about doing something like this? I'm sure they'd say yes.
I have a point of order here. I'm not allowing the town council to get involved with anything unless there's due governance. So unless the people that are facilitating this are DBS qualified,
Yes.
the insurance is in place, all the governance is in place, then I don't think we should get involved. So that has got to be a part of this proposal.
Well, I should say all the trustees of the Jubilee Centre are DBS qualified, and we have all the safeguarding courses.
I was school government 22 years, so.
Yeah. No, you're quite right. I mean, but David Wood is a trustee, so he's very clear about what we need to have, and we have got it. So, or maybe the town clerk should write to me, or no, right. I'll give you the email address of the chair of the Jubilee Centre, trustees. Yeah, all right. Okay. Yes, that's a good idea.
I can write.
I don't see why we're doing this all
Yeah.
all around sandwich.
Yes.
So I get to write to the Jubilee Centre, to the chair of the Jubilee Centre.
I'll send you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Just a point of interest, just one last point, as we did go down the youth activity route, Councillor Duco and Councillor Gray and myself did meet with the children's centres to explore universal services, because they're now known as family hubs.
Yeah.
Now they're family hubs, they're not limited to preschoolers, or then they went up to 8. But it was very clear that there'd be it's not something they would offer, that they would help facilitate, but it isn't something. I just thought that was worth mentioning. That's how you interpreted it, the same, wasn't it? Yeah. They're doing more targeted work rather than universal, which is kind of open to everybody.
Yeah. Thank you. Item 10 is the projects for the committee, for this committee, the scoping project. And I'm aware we've got very little time, but I'm also aware that Councillor Ripley wants to bring us up to date with the work that she's been doing on Airbnbs. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes, actually, there isn't as much to talk about as I thought there would be. As everybody is aware, presumably, I have been working on this for a few months now. And my intention would be now not to leave it much longer before we go out to residents. So I'm thinking either the end of May or early June, perhaps we could hold a drop-in session at the hub, which I really think is probably the most viable option to us. But what I will need is some posters. Yeah. Obviously, I can't do a drop-in session on my own, so I would need people who would be available to help me talk things through, with bring people up to date on the relevant guidance and the legal side of things, and just to talk generally about stuff. As I keep pointing out, and I think it's totally important, this isn't an anti-holiday let, second homes let, by any stretch of the imagination. There's been a great deal of tourism into the town, etc., but there are some concerns that need looking at, and also, we can give guidance to them about the current state of the legal requirements and etc., which are constantly moving on. So my intention is, I've got some residents, a couple of residents who are going to help me out to put something together in a format that we can hand out to people, which we would be doing. But first of all, I need to get a letter out to all the properties that we've identified within the town centre and outside. There are certain ones outside. We need to do a lot of advertising, blitz things to get people together. And then on the day, hopefully, if anybody actually turns up, we can give out the guidance and the report, etc., etc. So, anybody who wishes to help, please let me know.
And have you decided on a date?
No, haven't yet. I need to discuss it with the town clerk and see when perhaps the hub is available for us to use. And I was thinking of potentially a Thursday or a Saturday when we'd have most footfall on the floor in the town. Because I did notice that when the police were down there a couple of months ago, there was very little going on there. And I mean, I appreciate the weather as well that day, but I think we need to really push this. As hard as we possibly can, get loads of posters and adverts and Facebook that have. So, yeah.
Well, I'm sure when we have a date, you will get volunteers.
I hope so.
From the city and from the whole council. Yeah.
Apologies, I can't do daytimes.
That's no excuse at
all. Okay, I think I'm going to draw this meeting to a close, unless anybody has something that they wish to share with us urgently about the project that they're doing. Everybody happy? Okay, so the date and time of the next meeting will be confirmed after May.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.